Hello everyone, my name is Richie and welcome back to another video. Today you join me for another expectation video, and today we're talking about the upcoming Mittenwaldbahn. So yes, if you've not seen one of these videos from me before, I talk about an upcoming train sim world route in a little bit of detail. I delve into like a little bit of the initial information, the timetable layers, all that sort of good stuff. And today, well, the next route that's coming out is this one, the Mittenwaldbahn, which looks absolutely spectacular. This route comes out next Tuesday, the 11th of February, and it's coming from TSG, Train Sim Germany, and it looks absolutely beautiful. And I've got to say, I've been giving this route a good go in TSC, and it's quite a fun route to drive. Obviously that route's set in modern day, but it's a good bit of fun, and it's definitely a challenge for sure. So yeah, sit back, enjoy, and this is what you can expect to see from the Mittenwaldbahn. So let's start where we normally do, with a little bit of initial information. How long is the route, what's included, all that sort of good stuff. So this is a route map I found from Google, and as you can see, it's a fair length route. I think off the top of my head it's about 60 kilometres. So as you can see, it starts up here in Garmisch, Partenkirchen, I think, which is in Germany, and then it winds its way all the way past Mittenwald, and then down to Innsbruck in Austria. It's a nice looking route. From the looks of things, it's got a fair few stations on it. You've obviously got Seefeld here, which is sort of like the, the peak. Obviously this is like a mountain pass. So as we go along the route, you'll see that we'll climb a mountain very slowly. I think the max speed is like 80 kilometers an hour. And then you head like uphill, and then Seefeld is sort of like the summit, and then you're heading downhill as you head into Innsbruck. But it's a fair sized route, and it's got a couple of stations on it, and it's also all single track, which is quite interesting. There has also been a first look video posted by Dovetail, which shows you the locomotive in action and all that sort of good stuff. So if you want to go and check that out, there will be a link in the description. As previously mentioned, this route comes from Train Sim Germany, TSG for short, who also made the Mittenwaldbahn, the DBBR 218 DLC, and the Expert 101, which are all incredible looking DLCs. I've given a go the Mittenwaldbahn. I think it's an incredible route, and the 628 is probably one of my favourite locos to drive in the game. The 218 I've not given a go of, and the 101 looks alright, it's just complicated. So yes, a bit of an overview. It's got 58 kilometres, which I think is about 40 miles, something like that. It's got 15 stations. It's also set in 1989, that's a key one to notice. And it's a single track line pretty much throughout. Obviously there's a few passing loops and whatever else, so the majority of the route is single track, and it's quite a unique experience. The rolling stock included is the OBB 1020, the Krokodil locomotive, which we'll go into a little bit of information on, and the DBBR 111 in blue and cream livery. Dovetail have also confirmed a couple of the layers, which are the DBBR 365 for shunting runs, and the DBBR 103, which I think runs a couple of AI services. As for the route price, it is $32.99, and that is simply because of the amount of work that has gone into this. Obviously TSG are a smaller developer, and the route looks absolutely immense, and a lot of details have been put into the Krokodil locomotive, and also a complete rework of the DBBR 111. And the release date for this route is the 11th of February, which is next Tuesday, which is very exciting. I can't wait. So let's talk about the included rolling stock a little bit. So we've got this, the OBB 1020, the Krokodil locomotive, which looks absolutely incredible. What a very unique looking unit. It looks beautiful. So I believe this is the first time we'll see a loco like this. Obviously it's very retro, very old school sort of unit, and it's the first one of its kind coming to Train Sim World, and a lot of people are excited for it. And of course we've seen a variant of this train before, the DBBR 111, but it looks absolutely splendid in the retro blue and cream livery. So yeah, a little bit of an overview of the rolling stock. The OBB 1020 is a new unit to Train Sim World. It's an old school, I've put an OBB unit, but when I've read some details into it, it was used all over Europe. It's quite an old school sort of shunter freight sort of unit, so very cool, very unique design as well, as I put there. From what I've read, these units were built as early as like 1940, which is pretty nuts to think about. And they certainly look old, don't get me wrong, but they're quite cool looking. And from what I've read, the OBB 1020 also runs the majority of services on this route, and it runs a mixture of freight and passenger runs. As for the DBBR 111, it was first seen in Rosenheim-Salzburg in the DB livery, which it's quite a nice little unit to drive. It's quite fun. And then also they released the gameplay packs when it was hooked up to the M-Wagons, which is also a good bit of fun. We get a new blue and cream livery with it, so I know it's quite a retro German livery, and it's quite cool seeing some backdated German stuff. I know a lot of people were asking for that. A lot of people were like getting a bit sick of modern day German traction, so it's quite cool to see a lot of routes now set back for the German rail fans. As mentioned before, the DBBR 111 is a tap changer, sort of. It's an interesting train to drive. I did a stream on it the other day on the new Ludwigsbahn route, and it's fun to drive, I can tell you that much. Within the Mittenwaldbahn route, it's going to offer more modern traction. Obviously, the 111 isn't a new loco, but in 1989 it was, so it's going to offer a sort of new version of traction, new sort of running compared to the Krokodil. And they've also mentioned that the DBBR 111 also has a completely new cab interior. Obviously, in Rosenheim-Salzburg, it had all digital screens and stuff, which in 1989 didn't exist, so it's got loads of dials and stuff like that, so it's been completely reworked. Next, let's talk a little bit about the layered services. So we've got this, the DBR 365, which I think is a screenshot from Mittenwaldbahn. If not, that's the actual route, and it looks very good. But yes, the 365 does some shunting runs and a bit of freight as well. I'm not a fan of the 365. If anyone knows the unfortunate incident I had in a 365 once, yeah, they're not fun to drive. They're very difficult to drive for me. And of course, for some AI stuff, we've got this, the DBBR 103 running some services, which has got some new coaches. As you can see, it's got the retro looking coaches, which I think if you own the Ludwigsbahn, you actually get a DBBR 103 playable rail tour service, which uses coaches from this route, and obviously the DBBR 103 if you own Linker Rheinstrecke. So that's quite a cool thing to note. So next, let's talk about my favourite thing of a route, the timetable. And we already know the services for this, so I've not had to do too much research, but this is a breakdown of the services. So we've got the OBB 1020, which has 104 playable services, a mixture of freight and passenger. The DBBR 111 has 63 playable services. Again, I think these are going to be majority passenger, I'm not too sure. And the DBBR 365 has 5 playable services, but I think it does some AI stuff as well. And like I said, the 103 is AI as well. So if my maths is correct, there's something like 170 something services, but I put 160 to 180 just in case I get something wrong. So for a single line route, that's actually quite a bit. I mean, if you look at the Mittenwaldbahn, that had around about 60 services, and normally like single track lines don't have that many services because you can't really fit that many trains onto them. So the fact that we've got upwards of about 180 services, I think is pretty decent if you ask me. So in this part of the video, we would talk a little bit about a potential DLC, you know, if they were to do a loco DLC to complement this route, what would they bring into the route? And if I'm honest with you, I have no idea what they could do for this. So let me know in the comments, if they could do a loco DLC for this route, what would be cool? Maybe even if it was like a modern day version of the route and they could bring in the loco DLC with it, you know, just let me know some cool little ideas that you have in the comments. And on to the final segment, some route features. What sort of landmarks and stuff can we see on the route? Let's have a little look. So this is just it's absolutely stunning, that, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful. When I played this route in TSC, I just knew it was going to be a stunning route. I recognised the river and stuff from the TSC version. And that's one thing I'm thinking I'm going to do. I'm going to compare the TSC and the Train Sim World version just to see how close both of them are. It's going to be a very interesting thing to look at. As you can see, a key feature with this, it's going to be mountainous, it's going to be single track, it's going to be beautiful. That's what I can tell you, it's going to be beautiful. So the route features some steep gradients. I think at some point there was like I can't remember the percentage gradient, but it was steep. It was very steep. I was full throttling and it weren't going anywhere. So yeah, there's a lot of steep gradients and a lot of challenging gradients in this as well. The route offers single track running throughout. You're obviously going to be waiting at stations for other stuff to come the other way, passing loops, all that sort of good stuff. We've got some principal stations in Innsbruck and Garmisch. Obviously Innsbruck being quite a major city in Austria, and Garmisch being kind of like, it's, from what I've seen, it's a very key station, and you'd see an awful lot of stuff going on there. As for some landmarks, we've got the Schlossbachklamm Bridge. I don't know whether I pronounced that right or not, but it's a very cool looking bridge. You come out of a tunnel and then you're pretty much like, it's absolutely beautiful. I think there is a screenshot of it somewhere on the article. And then lastly, we've got the Seefeld Summit, which I mentioned earlier. When you go from Garmisch, you're heading uphill to Seefeld, and then from Seefeld down into Innsbruck, it's all downhill. So it's very nice indeed. And that's it. That is everything you can expect to see from the Mittenwaldbahn. There's loads to look forward to here for a single track route, and if you like TSG stuff, you're going to enjoy this one. And of course, before I go into my final thoughts, are you excited for this route? Are you planning on getting it? Are you going to wait for a sale? Let me know in the comments. I'm always intrigued to see what you lot think about the future routes, so yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. As for my final thoughts, I'm looking forward to this one. Playing the Train Sim Classic version has definitely whet my appetite for this route, and I'm definitely looking forward to how TSG represent it, and also giving a go at that Krokodil locomotive. That looks quite a good bit of fun to give a go of. And yeah, if you are planning on getting it, don't forget that it releases on the 11th of February, which is next Tuesday when you're watching this, and there is also a preview stream at some point too. So make sure to check that out. So with all that said and done, that is what you can expect to see from the Mittenwaldbahn. I've been Richie, thank you all for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all next time. Bye bye.